What's going on, everybody? This is Emerald Knight Leon, back with another deck analysis. Today I'm looking at Blue Hybrid. It's the combo version that runs both Tommy and Koji. Sometime next week I'll be looking over a possible deck analysis on these two decks when they're separate. So there'd be a pure Tommy and a pure Koji deck. But to start things off, we got Upamon, who's our level 2. He's going to be primarily our level 2 for this. If you were able to get him back when Gabubon was going real strong in BT6, you're good to go right now. His inherited is when attacking once per turn. If your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, trigger draw 1. This is going to be useful because you're going to be swinging with your lower end level 3s in order to just get that draw 1 off in order to get into your higher hybrids. Moving into our level 3s, we're running 2 copies of BT4 Strabimon. He is a searcher. You reveal top 3 cards, and then you can add a Digimon with hybrid in its form and or 1 blue Tamer to your hand. So if you're able to get another Strabi or one of your hybrids as well as a Tamer, that's great. We'll also be playing 4 copies of BT6 Strabimon. He's here because of his inherited. As well as that 3000 DP. That comes in handy a lot of times, actually, I've noticed in this set. His inherited is if this Digimon has hybrid or 10 warriors, once per turn when attacking, gain 1 memory. And then we're also running BT7 Strabimon. He is another deck searcher. He's going to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck, add a card with hybrid in its traits, Susanoo-omon or Koji, to our hand, and then place the rest at the bottom. And then finally, we have Bokomon. Bokomon is like the BT4 Strabimon, as you're able to add a card with hybrid in its traits or 10 warriors, as well as a Tamer. And then he's also here for that extra effect of when one of your Tamers digivolves, gain 2 memory, essentially making our level 4 hybrids free. Speaking of level 4 hybrids, we'll move into them. We got Kumamon here. Kumamon is here because of his when digivolving effect. Otherwise, we'd have someone like Lobomon. But Lobomon doesn't have any effects to speak of. So that's why we're running Kumamon. Kumamon's ability is that when he's digivolved, trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. This is really good if your opponent has a hybrid and you just trash their Tamer source. We're also running 4 copies of Korikakumon. He's here to stun our opponent. Basically, when we digivolve it onto a Tamer, it's a 2 cost. If we digivolve it onto Kumamon, it becomes a 1 cost. And we can digivolve Korikaku onto Korikaku, essentially just double stun locking an opponent. When I say stun lock, it's his Digivolution effect. If he has hybrid in his traits or Tommy in his Digivolution cards, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack or block until the end of their next turn. This is very useful because the whole premise of this deck is to kind of stun lock your opponent while you're constantly building up your field or building up your Digivolution line to get to your level 6. Finally, we'll be running 2 copies of Kendo Gurumon. Between this and the other one, you could run either or. I personally like this one because if you're digivolving onto a Tamer, it's a 2 cost, and if he has hybrid or Koji in his Digivolution line, he gets jamming for the turn. So what you could do is you go into Kendo from Kumamon, you swing, you have jamming now, and then at the end of the turn, if your opponent doesn't have a memory fixer, then you could just choke him by going into Korikakumon and stun one of his Digimon, forcing him to have to waste memory in order to play another Digimon that could possibly kill it. For our level 5s, we are running Crispaeldramon. There are other possible cards you could run instead of him. I personally love Crispaeldramon because when you compare him to Majiramon, Crispaeldramon seems to have a better thing going for him. His Digivolution effect, like Majiramon, will trash a Digivolution card from the bottom of your opponent's Digimon. The difference is Crispaeldramon is targeting all of your opponent's Digimon. Majiramon only targets 1. And his inherited is if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, this Digimon gains Security Attack +1. Majiramon's effect inherited, though, is if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards in play. Which is a bummer because all it takes is one card on your opponent's field that has that, and they'll be able to get off that restand. For reference, here is it. Here's Majiramon. No Digimon with Digivolution cards. That is a key difference, sadly. And it's one that honestly makes and breaks it for me. Finally, we're getting 4 copies of BT7's Beowulfmon. Like most of the BT7 level 5 hybrids, if you're digivolving him onto a Digimon with a Tamer under him, the memory cost is reduced by 2. But also, he has an extra bonus effect. When attacking, you may return 1 card with hybrid in its traits from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to your hand to return one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand, and then trash all the Digivolution cards of that Digimon. So how that would work out is your opponent has, say, Bokomon on the field and maybe a Kumamon. And what you have is Beowulfmon, who was digivolved onto a Kumamon that digivolved into Korikaku. So you essentially could return one of your Kumamon or your Korikakumon to your hand in order, or even if it's digivolved onto something like Strabi here, that counts as a hybrid, you could send any of those back to your hand and then bounce back their Bokomon, or maybe one of their level 4 hybrids, like if in Red's case, Burning Greymon, a Gunimon, or Yellow's Zephyrmon and Kazemon. Crumblemon, you could send any of those back. It has to be level 4, though, which is kind of a bummer, though. Going into our level 6s, we are running 2 Hexablau. Now, in this deck, you could run any combination. You could run 1 Hexablau, 1 Azulong. You could run 2 Azulongs, no Hexablau, or run 2 Hexablaus. You want to have at least one of those in this deck. And that's because Magna Gurumon is good. He's not great. In my opinion, he is not on the level that Kaiser Greymon is. But that's fine, because there are ways of working around that. Hexablau's ability is when attacking, trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. And then if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards in play, he gains jamming. And then your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack or block. So how this is playing out is if you have this on top of, say, Chris Paildra, you're getting 2 checks with jamming. Now, going into Magna Gurumon. Magna Gurumon is, I don't know. I like him. I personally think he has an amazing design. It's just, I see the reason why he can be good. His when digivolving, when attacking, once per turn, you may return 1 card with hybrid and its traits from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to your hand to return one of your opponent's Digimon with the same level as the returned card to its owner's hand. If you stack that with Koji, that gives you 5 Digimon to work with. And then Koji's inherited will let you gain a memory for each time, and then he can't be blocked. So, I get why. It's just being able to get that off because, as we'll discuss with later, Koji is not Takuya. And I will explain then. But also, he does have a bonus effect. When an effect adds a card to your hand, you can unsuspend one of your Digimon. So how that's going to work is Magna Guru is going to attack. You're going to activate his effect, send one of your hybrids back to hand, bounce one of your opponent's Digimon, then use his second effect to unsuspend him. The only problem is, what if your opponent has Ancient Troymon? Because Ancient Troymon his effect will activate afterwards, which is unfortunate. The answer? Not much, actually. There's nothing you can really do with that one, unless you kill Ancient Troymon. Moving on to our hybrids, we are running 4 copies of Tommy. Tommy is... I like Tommy. Tommy, I feel, is a great card. I feel Tommy is better than Koji in a lot of ways. His inherited is once per turn, until the end of your opponent's turn when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack or block. And then his on-play effect trashes 3 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So how that's going to work is you'll have Tommy. Your opponent could have 2 Digimon with no Digivolution sources now. You go into Korikakumon, stun one of their Digimon, swing, stun the other one. And now they have 2 Digimon that are completely useless until the end of their next turn. Moving on, we have Koji. As I mentioned, Koji is not Takuya. Koji requires 5 hybrids from your hand. Takuya's is from your trash. This is harder to do because this requires a lot of draw power. That's why we're running Upamon. I will say there is another Digi-Egg that you could run that could do similar things to Upa, and I will get to that in a bit. But his main effect is you could put 5 hybrids with under this tamer to digivolve it into Magna Garuru in your hand for its Digivolution costs, as if it's a level 5 Digimon. That is essentially what he does. Moving on, we're running 3 copies of Davis Motomiya. Davis is our memory tamer. He's also a card that's going to help us search our deck as well. He can basically add either 1 blue or 1 green Digimon among them to our hand, and he could add both at the same time. Finally, for our tamers, we are running 2 copies of Sora and Joe. This is basically to use in conjunction with Hexablau and with Tommy. We're going to get 2 more memory as long as our opponent has no Digivolution cards under one of their Digimon. And then when we attack with the blue Digimon, we can suspend this tamer to trash up to 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of our opponent's Digimon, effectively just crippling every tamer under their hybrids. Or if you're running against purple, you could basically trash their Lobomon, so now they can't gain memory off of playing tamers. Onto our option cards, we're running 3 Hammer Sparks and 1 copy of Howling Memory Boost. So Hammer Spark, he's here mainly because we can't use more than 1 copy of Ice Wall. So his main effect is gaining a memory, and then it's coming from our security, we're gaining 2 memory. And then Howling Memory Boost is, again, trashing 3 sources from an opponent's Digimon, and then selecting one of their Digimon so that they can't attack or block as long as that Digimon had no Digivolution cards. And then its delay effect is gain 2 memory. So onto our possible replacement cards. As mentioned, there are 2 Digi-Eggs that we could replace Upa with. First is Kyaromon. Kyaromon is a Digimon I've mentioned before when I was talking about the Hexablau Azulong Placiomon deck. When one of your opponent's Digivolution cards is trashed, trigger draw 1, which is a very useful ability. The other one, which is running in conjunction with one of our other Digimon here, is Demi Vimon. If this Digimon has jamming, trigger draw 1. This is great for Hexablau, but it's also good for this Digimon that we're talking about, Vimon from BT3, who has jamming. So what you're going to do is you're going to have him on top of this and just constantly be swinging. And if your opponent's not able to kill him, that just means you're swinging again and again and again, and they can't do anything. Problem is, he is fragile, so odds are he's going to die. We have Syakomon. Your opponent can't reduce Digivolution costs. This basically makes all of their level 5 hybrids full cost, because it specifically mentions reducing the cost. Madoki Betamon, your opponent can't gain memory except from tamer effects, so memory boost cards aren't going to be viable. Or in the case of purple hybrid, Lobomon won't be able to give memory when you're playing a tamer. This is very useful. Nemon, Nemon is here in case you have a tamer and you could play it for free, that as long as that tamer is one that has an inherited effect like Tommy or Koji. And then also when one of your Digimon is deleted and it has a tamer card in its Digivolution cards, you can play one of the tamer card from your trash without paying its memory cost. Gomamon and Balukomon are here because they have the same effect. Is when you trash a Digivolution card from one of your opponent's Digimon, you gain 1 memory. I've seen styles of blue hybrid that run this that can work actually. If you don't have Kumamon for some odd reason, you could run Lobomon. He is a 2-cost. Problem is he's not going to have an effect. He is a card that is present in a solo Koji deck, though, that I'm going to be working on. So, there's that. We also have Kendo Gurumon from BT4. His when attacking is you can return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to their hand and then trash all the Digivolution cards from that Digimon. It's alright. It was primarily made to deal with Rookie Rush back when it came out. And it was very useful for Gabu Bond, but it's still, like, I don't really think it really can work. I mean, your opponent's going to be playing Strabis and Boko, so you can basically bounce those back to their hand. That's an option. The problem is that by bouncing those back, you're basically inviting your opponent to start playing them again to keep searching, in the case of Flamemon and Strabimon, or Bokomon. If it were other cards from other hybrid decks, like Yellow Hybrid, Purple, Black, if you're interested in a Black Hybrid deck, then, yeah, you could work with that. Otherwise, I don't really see it needed. Then there's also the promo Lobomon. Basically, he can Digivolve into Ancient Guru for a cost of 1. It ignores its Digivolution requirements, but it's deleted at the end of the turn. And his inherited, when Digivolving this Digimon into Ancient Gurumon, reduces Digivolution cost by 2. That's if you're going, like, full circle and not warping into it. Also, Cordramon from the starter deck 8. He has the on-play of triggering draw 2. Plus, he coming out of security, you get to autoplay him for free. That's nice. Level 5 options, we could go Beowulfmon. He naturally has jamming, and if he has hybrid in his Digivolution stack, or blue tamer card, it can't be attacked. That means your opponent can only attack, like, deal with him by using an option card. Majiramon, I've mentioned Majiramon. His Digivolution effect is trashing 1 Digivolution card from the top of one of your opponent's Digimon. And then his inherited, when attacking once per turn, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution cards in play, unsuspend this Digimon. And then finally, Daipenmon. Daipenmon is an interesting Digimon. He's very much here for the tech support. He's not meant to be a staple. So, like, as solo Koji deck, he's still not going to be a staple. You're going to, like, I would be running 2, maybe 3 of him. But his effect is interesting. While you're a card with hybrid in its traits is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, none of your opponent's level 3s can attack. Getting that early game is actually incredibly useful, because that means all of your opponent's level 3s can't do anything. Moving on to the level 6s, you could run the new promo Vikemon. If you have a Tamer in play, up to 3 of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then when attacking, return one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to its owner's hand. That's actually an incredibly useful effect. The problem is he has 1000 DP. That's kind of frail by BT7 standards, since the majority of level 6s in BT7 have about 12 to 14,000. And in the case of Susanomon, 15. Ancient Megatheriumon, I don't know why you would really play this card. In a solo Tommy deck, it might be useful because of its Digivolution effect. For every hybrid in its Digivolution cards, you can trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of each of your opponent's Digimon. That is incredibly useful. And then for each Digimon your opponent has with no Digivolution cards, draw 2. Again, very useful. It runs very similar to Placiomon in my previous deck list, because he's all about the draw and in order to get to your Hexablower and Zulongmon. So he plays in a similar way, and I feel like that's more useful in that kind of deck than it would be in a deck that's running Magna Gurumon. He also has the on deletion of playing a blue level 4 or lower hybrid card. We also have a Zulongmon. A Zulongmon, his Digivolution effect, trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of all of your opponent's Digimon, and then gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards. And then he gets an extra security check for every Digimon with no Digivolution cards your opponent has in play. We also have Ancient Gurumon. When attacking, once per turn, you can unsuspend up to 2 Digimon with Gurumon in their name or hybrid in their form. This is very useful. It's what makes Magna Guru a little more consistent, because you're having him and Magna out on at the same time. You're essentially going to be able to get Magna possibly to 3 checks on that alone. And if you're swinging with Ancient Guru, you're going to get 2 checks out of him. So really, at that point, all you need is 1 extra check, and if your opponent only had 5 security, you win. Level 7s, you could be running Omnimon from BT5. He has Blitz, and his Digivolution effect lets him unsuspend. And if opponent's effect would delete him or return him to the hand or deck, you can prevent it by trashing a level 6 Digimon card from his Digivolution cards. It's an option. The Blitz is useful, honestly. If you are so inclined, though, you could be running Susanomon. Mind you, we won't have access to Mega Digimon Fusion anymore, so we can't abuse that. But there are ways of lowering his cost. If you were running Green Hybrid, Hidden Potential Discovered. But otherwise, you could be running another option, which is win rate 60%, where it basically, by trashing 1 Digimon card with the same color as the Digimon that is being digivolved, you are reducing the cost. So in that case, in the case of blue, you're just going to trash a blue card instead of a white card. As for an optional tamer, if you don't have Davis, you could run Matt Ishida. Davis is expensive right now. I understand that. If you have Davis, that's great. Run him. If you don't, and you only are able to get someone like Matt, that is fine. His effect does let you trash a Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon by suspending him every time you play a blue Digimon. So that you're getting 1 trash every turn, which is still useful, actually. As for our options, we have Evolution Ancient. Basically, if you have a hybrid in play, you can use this card without meeting color requirements. And your level 4 Digimon can digivolve into a Digimon with matching colors and 10 warriors in its traits, ignoring its level. So essentially what you're doing is you are digivolving Kumamon or Korikakumon or Kendo Gurumon straight into Magna. Well, actually, no, not Magna. Straight into, say, Ancient Megatherumon or Ancient Gurumon. So if you don't have the Lobomon and you still want to use Ancient Gurumon, that's your option. We also could use Blue Hawaii Death. He's a 2 cost, and he basically will give one of your opponents, one of your Digimon, 3,000 DP, and they can attack one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with no Digivolution cards. This is kind of the blue version of, say, Atomic Inferno. You're not getting the security check that Atomic Inferno is getting. You're not getting the added effect of when this Digimon is blocked, gain 3 memory. But you are getting the plus 3,000 DP and an extra bonus effect of swinging into one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon, as long as they have no Digivolution cards. Blue Memory Boost is an option. He is here for your searching. If you're not able to run Davis and you're running Matt instead, this is a card that you could use maybe to facilitate your searching. We've mentioned win rate 60%, and then Ice Wall is here. Again, you're only able to use one copy of Icewall. It's sad, but it was being abused, so it was bound to happen eventually. So that is it for this deck analysis. Honestly, I see why a lot of people love running this blue hybrid deck. The stun locking is really great, to the point of infuriating. I almost feel bad for my opponent when I'm playing this, because it's just like, good God, what am I doing? But yeah, I see why. I do want to see if I can make a deck that's just pure Tommy and pure Koji. But I know off the bat that that's not really going to be competitively viable. It'll probably be more of a casual deck. But again, leave a comment on what you think of this analysis. You know, what cards might you want to tech in for yourself in your version, as well as, you know, just what you think of this. Leave a like, subscribe maybe. I do want to mention, though, some circumstances made it so that the tournament I was supposed to do last night did not happen. So there won't be a stream tonight. Streaming will start back up again on Tuesday, as next week will be a Tuesday-Thursday schedule. But after that, it'll be back to a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule the following week. I'm sorry if anybody wanted to see me streaming, but also I need to try to get, say, a Digimon-related video game. I could do a playthrough of ROM of Digimon World DS, but given I've played that game so many times, I want to wait a little on that. But I've also been really wanting to play Cyber Sleuth again. And the problem is I don't have a capture card to connect to my console. So I'm going to have to get the Steam version, and I don't have the money for that right now. So hopefully by the time I start streaming up again on the Monday, Wednesday, the Friday schedule, I might have Cyber Sleuth, and Fridays will just be a more game-oriented stream that's Digimon related. Just because I feel if I constantly am playing a match every day, 3 matches every day, whether it's tournaments or streaming, I might burn out. And I hope you understand that. But again, leave a like, comment on what you think of this, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next deck analysis in the next video, which will hopefully be tomorrow or Sunday, depending on whether I can get any footage for tournaments. You have a nice day.